today we're going to go through how you can build a YouTube to blog post repurposing tool with AI in make.com. This is something that I personally use myself to turn my own YouTube videos into blog posts, but it's also something that you can sell to your customers and your clients. It's an automation that saves a lot of time, and especially for customers and clients that produce their own YouTube content or their own podcast content, this is just such a huge value add. Now, this is going to be a build with me style of video. So we're going to iterate on this build together. We're going to run into the bugs and issues together. And we're really just going to try make this whole automation work during this video. Now, if you're trying to follow along, I recommend watching this video on 0.75x. And if you sort of get stuck or you need to sort of pause, feel free to pause the video. And yeah. If you have any thoughts, questions as we progress, feel free to leave a comment. I always try my best to get back to every comment. So without further ado, let's get into it. So before we start, we should always think about what our overall process is. So if we want to turn a YouTube video into a blog post with AI, first we need to get some sort of like text representation of the YouTube video. So YouTube actually has this concept of captions or subtitles, which you've probably seen before. So if I open up a video I published recently, this is around automating social media for your blog, so give it a watch if it's relevant to you. You'll see that there's a CC button off to the bottom right of the video. And this is just like the subtitles or the closed captions for this video. So most videos on YouTube will have something like this. And what we want to do is download this closed captions or subtitles. So there's a couple of ways to do this. The way I do it is I use my own product. So disclaimer, it is my own product. I use Dumpling AI. We have a get YouTube transcript module. And what you do is you literally just get the YouTube video URL and paste it in here. And then if I run this, I'll get the transcript of the video. There are other tools online that can do this for you, but I obviously prefer my own tool. I find it very easy and efficient to use. So this is a full transcript for the video. You can see that the video here is 33 minutes long, and this transcript literally has the whole 33 minutes here. So it's very thorough. And once we have the text transcript for the video, the most basic version of this automation is actually quite simple, right? Once we have the text transcript, we just need to put it into ChatGPT and get ChatGPT to write a blog post. So what we need to do next is drag in the create a completion module from ChatGPT, connect those, and then we need to set up our prompts. So for this, I'm going to recommend using GPT-4 Turbo, just because it's slightly better quality content, but you can use 3.5 if you want. So for the role, I'm going to put in system. And for those of you who are new to this, you can think of system as like the personality of the AI or the overall settings. So I'm going to say something pretty simple. So you are a content writer experienced at turning informational YouTube content into SEO optimized blog posts. The user will provide you with a transcript. Please respond with SEO optimized blog post in Markdown. So this is a very, very basic prompt. If I was doing this for real or for a customer, I'd tweak this a lot more, incorporate things around the brand, the tone, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, we're keeping it pretty simple. So this prompt is two parts. So first part is giving the AI model a persona. So I'm saying you are a content writer. You can even add in the classic you are a world-class content writer, and just giving a bit of context there. And then I'm just saying the user will give a transcript, which is what we got from this step here. And we want the AI to respond in Markdown. So Markdown is just a format which will include like headings, subtitles, and all that sort of stuff. For max tokens, we don't really need a max tokens because we sort of want the blog post to be as long as it needs to be. So we're just going to put 0, which is basically just the limit of the model. And we're going to press OK. So now let's run through this and see if it works. So we've pulled the transcript again. This is actually very quick. Oh, whoops. I forgot to add in the the actual transcript, which is why ChatGPT was like, there is no transcript. What are you doing? So let's pretend with the user, passing in the transcript that we got from the first module, and let's run that again. So get the transcript and then pass it to ChatGPT. And this time it will run a bit longer because it's actually writing the blog post this time. But while we're waiting for it, might as well talk a bit about choice of AI models. So in my own usage and when I build for customers, I generally actually recommend using Anthropic Claude 3 Opus for this. I just find Opus to be a lot better at content generation compared to other AI models in my own testing. Like when you use ChatGPT, even GPT-4 Turbo, you sometimes find that the content gives very like AI vibes, where you read it and you can sort of immediately tell that it's AI unless you sort of get really creative with your prompting. Like there are ways around it, but you have to sort of do a lot. Whereas if you use Opus, it tends to be a bit easier. So it's finished writing. Let's have a quick look. So it's got the title, very good. Keep in mind, I didn't actually pass in the title of the video. I literally just passed in the transcript. You can see it's sort of got all this stuff. This was actually very good. So as the person who actually made the video, I can say that this is very good. And this was with a super basic prompt, right? The system prompt is very simple here. It's literally give a persona, respond with a SEO optimized blog post in Markdown. So very simple. If you're doing this for real, you'd tweak the system prompt a lot more. But this is a great starting point. And this is, I would call this simple build like level 1 of this automation, where you can just put in a YouTube URL into the Dumpling AI module, connect to ChatGPT and just press run. And you can do this sort of one at a time and you can get your blog posts out. But yeah, there are many ways you could improve this. So one of the ways is, as I mentioned before, right, where you replace ChatGPT with Anthropic. So if you're using Anthropic, I'm not going to actually use it, but you can use the Opus 3 model. How you use it is very similar, but I would sort of do that. And just before we move on to level 2, the only other thing I'll call out is back in, I would say 2023, something like this would probably be enough, where you just get ChatGPT or the AI model you're using to generate the blog post, and you sort of just post that straight away. But as more people are doing this AI generated content and Google sort of paying it a lot more attention these days, I've found that you really do need a human in the loop for that final step. So you can get AI to do the bulk of the work, which is what we're doing here, but you need like that human review step at the end, where a human will just review the content, check it, make a few tweaks, add a sentence here and there, just to sort of add that final 20% to really sort of make the content worthwhile and valuable and have like a positive SEO impact for you or your customers. So that's just a little tidbit there. I know when I started sort of doing this mass generation in 2023, like you didn't need that, but as competition has sort of heated up, you definitely do need that human in the loop now, just to ensure that your content is quality. Cool. So let's move on to level 2, right? So right now it's very manual. You sort of manually find a video on YouTube, copy the URL, paste it in here into this module, press run, and you get your content back. But if you've watched my previous video, especially my videos around like how to generate AI content in bulk and long form AI content, which if you haven't, I'd highly recommend, you can actually do this a lot more efficiently. So if you watched my previous videos, you probably can guess where I'm going. I'm going to have a Google Sheet where I'm going to have a list of YouTube URLs. So I'll have 2 columns, which is YouTube URL and then blog content. And I'm going to copy this URL here. I'm only going to have one for this tutorial, but in reality, you sort of copy in all the YouTube videos that you want to repurpose. So what you would then need to do is add a Google Sheet module here, pull in the relevant URL, run through, and then write back into the Google Sheet to update the blog content. So let's build that now, right? So to start with, we need to get the values out of Google Sheets. So we're going to use the search rows module. Let's drag this over, connect this. So that's all looking good. You need to connect your spreadsheet. Connected my spreadsheet, select the sheet, probably leave all these as is. I'm just going to reduce this so it's slightly less laggy. Press OK. And then I need to update. Actually, let's just run this module to make sure it works. So it returns, yes, it returns the YouTube URL that we want. I'm going to go here. Instead of hard coding this, we're going to pass in the YouTube URL from Google Sheets. And then here is still the same. And then the final piece is just writing back to Google Sheets. So we need to update a row. So connect your spreadsheet again. Go and choose the row from the first module. And we're just going to update this with the results. A blog content markdown column with the actual markdown from ChatGPT. So that's looking good. Let's run through. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. So yeah, ChatGPT, GPT-4 is going to run for a bit longer just because GPT-4 is slower than 3.5, and also our blog post is not really short. It should be decently long. Maybe let's just wait here. So we should see the blog content column update fairly soon. Let's have a quick look. It's still working. There we go. Let's go here. And awesome, you can see your content. So this is all looking quite good. And you can sort of do this just fully in Google Sheets, right? Like if you use WordPress or Webflow and that sort of stuff, they all have spreadsheet import functions where you can import a CSV with your content. So you could use that. I know some of the platforms don't take Markdown. They need to take HTML. If you need HTML instead of Markdown, just use, let me find the block for you guys. I think it's called Markdown. Let me find the block. Hold on. Yeah, so you can use the Markdown to HTML converter where you just put in the Markdown from ChatGPT and it will turn it into HTML, and then you can put that into the CMS that you're using, whether that's WordPress, Webflow, or whatever else that you're using. Cool. So this is, I would say, level 2, where you can have your spreadsheet full of YouTube URLs, and then like you have this list and you can use Make to automatically write blog posts for each one. You might manually populate this first column of YouTube URLs, but there are tools online that let you get all the YouTube URLs for a video or a search term. We will be adding that functionality to Dumpling AI as well, but for now you can sort of use those tools or manually paste in YouTube URLs here. Cool. So that is, I would say, level 2. Level 2.5, I would say, is adding a blog image. So let's do that, right? So there's a couple of ways you can add a blog image. One way is to use DALL-E from OpenAI. So it's called, I think it's generate an image. So you can just sort of paste in like something from the you can use the transcript, or you can use the completion from ChatGPT and use that to generate an image. So that's one way. Another way is to use a tool like Unsplash, where the image is sort of like, this is all free to use images, stock images. So you could use that. I actually prefer to do the images manually in a lot of cases. I just find it's part of that like human touch that adds that extra 20% to your content. But yeah, if you want to automate it, I'd recommend using either DALL-E or Unsplash. Unsplash also has a make.com module. You have to make an account and connect that. So yeah, that's one approach. For this one, let's just quickly go with the DALL-E approach just to show you how that all works. So let's do image. I guess the only thing to call out is if you are using this, DALL-E can get quite expensive. So I would recommend being quite careful with this, because if you're generating a lot of images, the costs will add up very quickly. And we probably need a prompt in the middle as well, just to turn the blog post into a DALL-E 3 prompt. So you can see if you're using AI generated images, it does add a lot of token usage, but it's not too bad. Let's do it for the tutorial. So we'll say, take this, generate a DALL-E prompt based on this blog post. And I'm just going to put in the blog post, and I'm going to keep this short. I want the prompt to be quite short. And then for this, we're going to paste in the, I want to use DALL-E 2, save some money. And we're going to get the result, which is the prompt here for hit this. And then I'm going to add a image URL column. And I don't think it will be available yet, the autocompletes, but oh, it is. So I'll post in this URL here, and let's run through that. So this is level, oh, let me give this a save. So this is level 2.5, where you've got Google Sheet, your list of URLs, Dumpling AI is going to pull down the transcript, you're going to generate the blog post, and now we're going to generate some images. So right now it's still generating the blog post. This module here will turn the blog post into a DALL-E prompt. I would probably change that prompt a bit now that I'm thinking about it. I didn't sort of give it very clear instructions, but let's see how that goes. And then this module here will actually take that DALL-E prompt and generate an image with DALL-E, and then we'll push it all back into the Google Sheet. So as you can see, like every iteration, we're adding additional functionality, and we're really iterating and adding value. So when you're working with a customer or client, this is something you can do so that you sort of get a deliverable out pretty quickly. The customer starts to see value, and then you sort of incrementally add value as you go. So this may be quite time consuming now because we have so many AI steps in the middle, but that's all good. It's still faster than a human doing it. So that's all looking good. So the content is still here. This is the module. This is the image. So I'm using DALL-E 2, which is the cheaper model, which is why the image is just complete random. Let's have a look at my bad DALL-E prompt. Create an image showing automo. Yeah, this is a very bad prompt. So yeah, this is like the automation, like how it would hang together. You would actually need to make this a bit more useful so that the DALL-E prompt is actually good, rather than what I have here, which is literally all it's doing is summarizing the blog post. So then the DALL-E image just ends up looking like text, which is not what you really want. Cool. So that's level 2.5. I would say level 3 and beyond is where it starts to get really fancy. And there's a couple of different directions we can go with this, right? So in my last video, I talked about how you can automate your social media for your blog posts. You could actually integrate that automation into this so that as soon as you generate the blog post, you also generate the social media posts that go along with that blog post. So in this example, maybe I've generated this YouTube to blog post content, and then I want to promote this new blog content on my social media, right? I want to promote it on Twitter. I want to promote it on Facebook. I want to promote it on Instagram. Maybe then I will generate the additional content, like the social media content here as well. And then I'll have additional columns, right? So I'll have my YouTube URL, blog content, image URL, and then I'll have like Twitter post, and then I'll have Facebook post, maybe LinkedIn post, and then like Instagram image, which will be another URL, and then caption as well. So you can start to get really fancy here, right? Depending on exactly what you want to do. I think we're not going to go too far down that direction in this tutorial just because the sky is sort of the limit there. I would recommend watching my previous video on how to sort of do that sort of stuff where you generate content for multiple social media videos. So in the previous video, I think I did Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So you could sort of apply the lessons from that video here to sort of combine the learnings from both. And while we're on the topic of previous videos, I'd also recommend watching my previous video on how to generate long form content. You'll see that this blog post, whilst is like decently long, it's not super long, right? Like if you wanted to generate a 5,000 word or a 10,000 word blog post, it's quite hard to do that in a single like ChatGPT run or a single API call to OpenAI. So what you actually need to do is use iterators. So I would recommend watching my previous video on long form content, this video, where you can see that I'm iterating through the initial output from AI to generate really long form content. So the gist of it is you get AI to generate a content brief, and then for each of the subheadings and subtitles in the content brief, you get AI to generate a paragraph. That way you end up with much longer and higher quality content. So yeah, but what I am going to show you before I finish this video is how you can improve the quality of your content. And I've mentioned this in a lot of my previous videos where I've said if you're scraping content and then repurposing it into a blog post, I recommend you don't do a one-to-one repurposing. So in this case, what I'm suggesting is you shouldn't do one YouTube video to one blog post. If it's your own YouTube video, then that's probably fine. But if you're sort of scraping other people's content and that sort of stuff, I would highly recommend combining multiple different sources. So one way is to combine multiple different YouTube videos, or you can sort of combine a YouTube video with a scraped blog post or with a Reddit post or something like that. So last example I'm going to give you before I wrap up this video is going to be, we're going to scrape a YouTube video as well as a blog post, and then we're going to get AI to combine those and generate a new blog post for you to use. Cool. So to do that, let's first think of a topic. So you watch my video, a very common blog I scrape is Ironclad, just because I work with a lot of B2B companies, and this is a B2B software blog. So let's say we're just doing sales contracts analytics as our topic, right? So then what I might do is something like this. So that we're going to change this. I'm going to insert one column to the left, and I'm going to say blog post. I'm going to delete this actually, and delete this. So the blog post URL is this. So this is the blog post we're going to scrape, and then I'm going to find a relevant video. See if we can find anything. So these are all not that great. Maybe we should, yeah, let's take this one. This seems to be the closest. So you can see they have subtitles, which is good. So I paste this here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to scrape both of these, and we're going to combine them using AI to generate a net new blog that sort of combines the insights from both. So we're going to need to update a lot of this. So I might start deleting. So let's keep it all actually. So now we have Google Sheets. We still need to return the first row. So let's run this module. So we have the data now. We have our YouTube video URL. We have our blog post. We have this, which is still scraping the YouTube video URL. What we need now is to also scrape the blog post. So we have a scrape URL function in Dumpling AI, and you can use the HTTP module here as well. I'm going to use Dumpling AI just because the quality of just because Dumpling AI will clean the data for you. Again, it's my own tool, just so no one's going to blame me for not disclosing, but to give you an idea of why I use Dumpling AI. So I paste in that blog that we're going to scrape. If you're using the HTTP module, you'll get what's on the left here, which is all this noise because it's all HTML. Whereas if you use Dumpling AI, you're going to get what's on the right here, which is it's removed all the random like heading, random stuff, all the stuff in the footer, or the side menu, all these random pop-ups, all the HTML tags, it's all cleaned, and you just get just straight up just the content, which means that you'll save tokens for one in your AI usage, but also the AI will generally produce much better content if you give it clean data. So that's why I'm using the Dumpling AI module to scrape the blog. If you don't want to use Dumpling AI, you can use the HTTP module. So you can use this module here and make a request. So that's the other option. Well, I'm going to use Dumpling AI. We now have the content for both. I'm going to run this module just so we can get the content. So the data here, we've got all the content and you can see it's very clean. It's literally just the blog post, which is really good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to update our prompt, right? So information at synthesizing information into educational B2B blog post. So the user will provide you with a transcript as well as a blog post. Please respond with it. Cool. And then I'm going to update this as well. So transcript will be what we had passed in before, and then blog post will be the content from our second scrape. So that's looking good. I'm going to try and tweak this a little bit, come up with a blog image idea based on this blog post. I'm going to pass it into DALL-E 2, which is the cheaper model, but it's fine for our example, I think. And then we need to update this final one because we've added new columns to our Google Sheet. So we need to no longer update this, and this is all wrong now. So the blog content will still be what comes out of the first ChatGPT module. The image URL will still be what comes out of the DALL-E module. That's all looking good. And if you were doing your sort of social media posts as well, you would have additional ChatGPT modules doing those generations, and you would put the results in here. So this is all looking good. Let's do an end-to-end run to make sure it's all working as expected. So you can see it's scraped the YouTube transcript, it's scraped the blog post. Now it's writing the blog post. It's taking a while. I think GPT-4 is doing a lot of synthesizing. But yeah, GPT-4 is always slower than 3.5, but the quality of the content's a bit better. It's a bit more expensive as well. So that's done. It's generated. Let's see if my image prompt is any better this time. That's still not looking very good. So I don't have high hopes for the generated image, but the content should be good. Cool. So that's all finished running. Let's go back here and bam. So we've got a combination of the two pieces of content that we scraped, right? So the YouTube video as well as the content from the blog. So you can see it's like talking about the sales side, which is from the video, and we're probably going to pull in some stuff from the contracting as well. So yeah, it should be looking pretty good. So let's have a quick look at what came out. So we've passed in the transcript, and we've also passed in the blog post, which is nice. So all of this stuff has gone into ChatGPT to generate that blog post. So it's looking pretty good. And then the final step here is what I would sort of do to put the final icing on the cake is I would add in a Perplexity step in the middle before the ChatGPT generation, just to add in a real-time news component. So you can sort of say, ask Perplexity, what's the latest on sales contracting, as an example, and also pass that answer into ChatGPT for the blog content generation. And yeah, that's basically it for this video. If you're interested in using Dumpling AI, I'll have a link in the description. If you have any thoughts or comments, feel free to leave a comment. I try my best to get back to everyone. And then if you liked this tutorial and would like to see more like it, please do give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. It really does help me a lot and sort of shows me that you guys are enjoying this type of content. But otherwise, we'll wrap up there. And I'll see you in the next video.